Welcome to the panel shows Down the Track. My name is Jared McLean and with me co-hosting today, Rob Oberg, and we're talking to the Whites, Meagan and Brett White from Pro Alcohol. Now, you guys campaign a pro alcohol driver. Meagan, you're basically the most important person in the team, and the husband is just the driver, as it were.
Just the driver.
How did you guys go this weekend at the Gulf Western Oils Nitro Thunder?
We had a reasonably good event. We did have a few issues in the first round. The electromotion cut out, so hence the chutes came out, cut the motor off, got it back to the pits, started straight away. We just think it might have been just a loose wire or something like that. Second round came out, Brett scraped the wall. It happens. Got back, patched it up, put new headers on it. We came out for third round. The car did really good. He did cross the center line, take out a cone or two maybe. One.
But yeah, it was a weekend of ups and downs. Brett, you guys are privateers. You're doing it all on your own dime, aren't you?
Yeah, basically what we do is we work as hard as we can. We'll work, 16 hours, 18 hours a day, and we just put it into the race car. This is what we do. It's what I've ever known, because I grew up in the sport. We've been married 10 years, so she's been in the sport 10 years, and we don't know anything else. So that's what we do.
So you put all your money in the race car and then you abuse it as badly as you did this weekend?
Well, I'm the driver. I've got to blame the crew. They made it shake, not me.
I'm not sure that Meagan was in the car when it got the wall or got the centre line. That wall scrape, it was literally a scrape, wasn't it? Let's actually have a look at it.
As we watch the replay here brought to us by PD Multicar.
I had all my eyes on Stephen Reed once there was a red light, and it was simply a matter of if he stayed in his own lane. But then, of course, if Brett White has got that wall, what it means is he red lit, you get disqualified. You touch the wall, you get disqualified. So he's double indemnity, that guy. Yep, he gave her a little bit of a love tap down there. She will have flattened the exhaust headers, that's for sure, and scraped up that beautiful red paintwork.
So we've seen some, horrendous accidents in drag racing, but as it goes, that's one where you say, well, that's going to be a Band-Aid on it. You're in the car. I mean, how did it get out there in the first place?
The car left well. The transition from the alcohol dragster to the funny car has been trying. Like, we've got to remember, it's only my 9th run after the weekend in that car. It went out. We've had problems maybe with me with the steer in the first meeting, being too gentle. I was told to drive it. So that's what I did. It left okay, and it got right out there, and just before the top of first, it just rattled its brains out to the point where I could not, you can't see. So I gave it a pedal, and when I've pedaled it, it's picked the front end up, and it's got probably the right rear out of the groove, because it sort of drove over, and I had the steering wheel cranked, and it wasn't coming down, and then I got out of it, but as I've got out of it, like, it sort of rattled again, and then it's nosed into the wall, but when it's nosed in, it's pushed, it's come around and gone like that. So it's got the back, it's got the sides, it's got headers. So I thought it was a decent hit in the car. Like, I got 2 bruised knees, where my knees to hit the steering, the column that comes up. But then the wheel alignment was fine in the braking area, and I got out and looked at the car and I thought, well, that's okay. And then I can't repeat what she said when I got something. The words idiot come to mind, but yeah, so it is what it is.
Well, watching that, we weren't sure that we'd see you again for the weekend. Because you never know whether it's just a matter of replacing the headers or actually getting the hammer out and beating them out. But I imagine back in to get out again for the next round must have been a big job in the pits, Meagan.
Yes, it was. We had all hands on. We do have a panel beater on our crew, so it was his job to fix the body. A lot of race tape. I'm glad we had red race tape, because I wouldn't want some black tape on there. But we got it out. We sent the boys back to the shop to get the spare headers, and we made it out there. So it was a really, really good effort by the team.
Meagan, talk to me about the effort that you guys do apply. You yourself on race day, what are you responsible for personally?
Myself, packing the chutes, feeding the crew, of course, helping Brett with the clutch, just making sure everything's finished and finalised, getting Brett ready and strapped into the car, making sure that I haven't forgotten anything. Yeah, that's about it that I can think of, but there is a lot more that...
I got to say, the fact that you're working on the clutch. If you don't mind, can we just have a look at your hands, because
they're quite dirty.
you've got to have some pretty tough hands working the clutch.
I tried to scrub them and they're not coming clean. So.
What about between events? You know, the between event maintenance at home. You say you work 16 hours. I know you work as many hours as you can to make the money to spend on it, but then you've also got to spend that time in the shed itself, don't you?
Definitely. Like we've got a fantastic crew. I mean, our crew, they got young families as well, so we don't ask a lot of them. You know, one night, if it's in a, you know, when we don't have a break, we'll generally, you know, do a lot of it ourselves. My crew chief, he's awesome. Like the car's based at his shop, so he'll fiddle around with it during the day when he's got time. But we generally, yeah, whatever spare time, so these Saturdays or the other week it was a Sunday, we weren't doing anything at home, so naturally what do? You take the dogs down to the workshop and you spend time with the other car, so that's what we did.
And what about looking forward? Is the Gulf Western Oils Winter Nationals at Willowbank on the agenda for you?
We did enter for it. We did have a bit of a team meeting last night. Because we've only done 9 runs at the moment, the whole idea was to go. We just purchased the truck as well. We're not going to do this year, so as much as we want to, but we've got a spare engine that we're piecing together. I need more runs in the car. We don't want to travel all the way to Willowbank to be cannon fodder. We've always raced where we want to be competitive. So 3 runs is a long way to go when I'm still learning, and I'm not wanting to get abused in the braking area again for stuffing up. So,
So I imagine you'll probably be in the grandstand though.
I will be there.
Yeah. So how's that going to feel when you're sitting there and watching these other guys out there amongst it?
Not good. But we'll be there. I mean, it's good to catch up with a lot of, you know, we've got a lot of friends there in Queensland, so we catch up with a lot of people that we haven't seen in a while. You know, you wander around and you get to learn new ideas on how people work on their stuff. You know, sometimes just by looking at something, oh, that's a neat way to do stuff. So you can bring it back to our operation. So.
The size of the event itself, you know, run over 4 days and just the 500 plus teams and the crowds that get there, you can't help but get wrapped up in that atmosphere, can you?
Well, that's half the reason we pulled the pin, because I'd get too wrapped up and do something stupid. So, but no.
Hang on, was it a we pull the pin or did you pull the pin, Meagan?
I still want to go, but I understand the decision is the right decision. We need to focus on getting the car down the track safely and not scraping the other side of the car.
I wanted to go on the left and turn left or even it up.
No, it is definitely a good idea not to go. We will still spectate, but...
Meagan, when we saw that bit of a wall slap there, admittedly your heart must have been in your throat. Do you worry for his safety?
Yes, I worry. It was emotional. I wanted to know he was okay, but then again, I wanted to know the car was okay.
I think it was the other way around.
Maybe the car first and then Brett. I knew he would be okay. These cars, you have to have a lot of safety equipment. So, yeah, I just...
You know he's in safe hands in
Yes,
terms of the safety
exactly.
equipment. You've been with him for 10 years. What's he like when it's not going his way?
He does have a slight temper, but if I go to him saying, calm down, go for a walk, he's okay. The crew kind of around us bring him down. I mean, we're a generally happy pit, so he brings his happy face to the track. So,
Well, guys, looking outside your team, Pro Alcohol, it came on in leaps and bounds at this weekend, and it had everything. There was only Steve Reed that got 2 wins from the 2 starts in our 3-round all-run system. So the maths came in. There was everyone else basically had one win, and it came down to who had the most bonus points.
Did I have a win?
I
don't
said
think I did.
everybody
I don't think I
else.
did.
I said everybody else.
Oh.
Yeah, well, I mean, Blake with the front engine dragster, the old digger, it came out and got their first ever round win. But Steve Reed, Sydney Dragway, right at the moment, he just seems to be on rails here.
I'm going to put 200 kilos on him. Because he just wins everything down here. Like, and you know, hats off to him. Like, he's doing a fantastic job. And he's always been tough. And I think this year's his year. You know, like, there's a lot of tough cars out there. And Gary Phillips come down for this meeting. So that made it a lot tougher for everyone else. Like, you see the name Gary Phillips on the entry list for Pro Alcohol, immediately you know the game's going to step up even more.
Yep.
So, but for Steve to do what he did on the weekend, and in that final run, I know when I came through the tunnel and I looked down the braking area and there's a fog mist, and I'm thinking, holy crap, you got to drive into this after what I went through that run before. But you know, I think he went 551 or something in the final.
551.
And that thing's on rails. And you've got to give them all the credit that they deserve what they're going to. If they win the championship, you know, they deserve it. If Russell wins, Russell's a gentleman.
Yep.
And I don't have favourites, but Russell is just a gentleman.
The Funster, the front engine car that Russell Mills runs, you know, he had his worst event of the series this weekend. He had all sorts of troubles, but he got a win, and he just got enough ET bonus points by one to make it into that championship final. So it continued this battle for the championship between Steve Reed and Russell Mills. As you said, 551 for Steve Reed, but it really was a fantastic final. Let's have a look at it.
Sure.
As you said, 551 in those conditions, man, that was tough.
I know. But yeah, like I just said, you know, they're on their game. You know, the rest of us, we've got to catch up. We've got to play catch up. But I think going into the winners, Gary is going to throw a spanner in the works. He runs fast at the winners.
Well, the Winter Nationals, incredible air. We know that every car's going to have horsepower because the air is so cold and so dense. The traction, sometimes some teams find it too good. They just can't come up with a setup for it. Yeah. Then you start thinking about the field. Now, Gary Phillips will be back, and I mean, he's going to, after getting slapped with some bad performances this weekend, he is going to be loaded for bear. Yeah. Darren Fry's back with his car. And it just goes on the list.
There's one name that I've heard might be run as John Canurley, and he's a record holder.
Yeah, exactly.
So, running right down in the 30s that time.
Yeah, 35 he ran, so that's another name.
So Pro Alcohol is probably going to be one of the hardest fought for the Winter Nationals win. The championship, this intriguing battle between Steve Reed and Russell Mills. Reed has had the 3 wins here. Russell's won at Willowbank. It's still, I think it's a round and a half of racing. Could you see Russell making up the difference?
I think he can. You know, it's always better to. My theory has always been that better to be the chaser rather than the leader, because if you're the leader, you're always looking over. If you're the chaser, you only got one thing on your mind. But the first thing Russell's got to do is qualify. Quality field up there. And then there could be 13, 14 cars. Quality field, get in the field, that's your first objective. If you're not in the field, then you don't have a chance.
Again, touching on the fact that you guys are privateers, how's the hunt going for sponsors? Well, have you got anything on the horizon?
We've got a couple of, we've got little people that followed us through since when we ran the alcohol dragster. Because we've just started out with this deal, we haven't been proactive in getting out there and looking. We've just been busy setting up the team, getting it, because we sold a lot of stuff when we sold the dragster. So reaccumulating our inventory. We've got to make sure that we're out there and we're competitive, we're doing the right thing. Without question, I might be biased, I've got a great bunch of guys and they're up there with the best. But we need to be out there and making sure we're competitive before we sell ourselves. We don't want to sell a product where we go out there, and at the moment I'm learning how to drive a car, like that car. I want to be able to go, I can match it with these guys and this is what we can do.
You mean you want to scrape your paint, not their signage?
If they're paying for the paint, I'll scrape their paint.
Well, that is about all we've got time for. Thanks for joining us on the panel shows Down the Track. From Rob Oberg and the Whites, and myself, Jared McLean, take care. We'll catch you soon.